She's white. And because of that, when you consider some of the hard times other people gave her, they were resentful of the fact that this white girl came on the scene where there was a bunch of sisters that preceded her, spanning decades, that were big time, that deserved a lot of credit.
Something strange is happening in Indiana. It's a shift you can feel more than see. A quiet tremor beneath the court that's beginning to crack the very foundation of the Fever franchise. This isn't about a losing streak or a player trade. This is about the moment a reclusive billionaire stepped out of the shadows and decided to take absolute control. The owner of the Indiana Fever, Steve Simon, a man who built his fortune on shopping malls and private equity, has reportedly stopped being a passive investor. Insiders whisper he's now personally involved in every facet of the team, from who gets playing time to who speaks to the media.
It's my main point. Like I said, we are in the biggest moment in WNBA history. There's no denying that. Everybody knows that, and everybody that's in a place in power has a true responsibility, and even myself, we have a responsibility to make sure that this game is in a great place going forward with the CBA.
Fans are calling it the Simon takeover, and the timing is anything but a coincidence, because this seismic shift started the moment a single, three-word phrase was allegedly uttered in a closed-door meeting, a phrase that would send shockwaves to the entire organization and redefine the team's future. If you've noticed the energy around the Fever feels different, you're not imagining things. This is the story of a corporate power play disguised as a basketball season, and it's just getting started. Make sure you're subscribed, because what we're uncovering here will change how you see the entire WNBA.
Can we be clear about this? If Caitlin Clark were not in the WNBA, we would not be talking about the WNBA. She is the only ticket draw in the WNBA. A large percentage of all tickets sold in the WNBA are so people can watch Caitlin Clark play basketball. No one cares about Angel Reese, should be drawing flies.
For years, Steve Simon was the definition of a hands-off owner, a spectral figure more familiar to the boardroom than the locker room. He operated on a different plane, trusting the basketball minds he hired. People like General Manager Kelly Krauskopf, a foundational architect of the franchise, and President Amber Cox, to handle the day-to-day grind of building a competitive WNBA team. His focus was a vast, complex empire of Pacers sports entertainment, a billion-dollar web of interest spanning the NBA's Pacers, the Fever, and the management of the entire Gainbridge Fieldhouse complex. To the players and coaching staff, Simon was a polite, reserved presence, the man who signed the checks but rarely interfered with the X's and O's. This all changed, however, with the arrival of a cultural hurricane named Caitlin Clark. The phenomenon she created wasn't just measured in points and assists, it was measured in millions of dollars.
When watching Caitlin, when she has a little bit of a mini slump for her, with three-pointers, are there things you see or even talk to her about it, or you just sort of know she's going to shoot her way out of that?
Well, I think she's going to find her way out of it. Now, we've got to get her easier ones, the ones where she's having to, dribble 5 or 6 times.
Suddenly, the Indiana Fever weren't just a sports team. They were the hottest new asset in Simon's portfolio. And for a billionaire known for his calm, methodical, and terrifyingly decisive nature in the business world, an asset of this magnitude could not be left to the uncertainties of a basketball season. The whispers began circulating among staffers almost immediately. He was spotted in the practice facility more frequently, not as a casual observer, but intently watching, taking notes. His questions, once broad and infrequent, became specific and pointed, delving into marketing strategies, ticket sales breakdowns, and even practice schedules.
Obviously, kind of participated in team activities here for the first time. Just how is she progressing, and how is this a good step?
Yeah, it was a good step because she got out there on the floor with us for the first time. Part of the, sort of return to activity thing, but it was all very low maintenance, 5-on-0.
The rumor mill, initially churning with mild speculation, soon solidified into something far more concrete and alarming. The tipping point, insiders claim, was a private, closed-door meeting earlier this year, a gathering that has since become legendary within the organization's walls. In that room, with head coach Stephanie White and executives Cox and Krauskopf, Simon allegedly laid out a new vision. There were no long speeches about legacy, no committee discussions about long-term growth. The message was said to be brutally simple, a corporate mandate delivered with chilling clarity. The era of shared responsibility and gradual development was over. Effective immediately, the entire organization, from the playbook to the publicity department, would be reoriented around one undeniable fact. This was now officially Caitlin Clark's team. The acronym born from that meeting, CCT, didn't just become an instant mantra. It functioned as a silent bomb, its shockwave set to dismantle the old Fever and rebuild something entirely new in its place. The impact of that CCT directive was immediate, visible, and utterly transformative, reshaping the franchise's identity almost overnight. It was as if a switch had been flipped. The team's marketing campaigns, which had previously celebrated the collective effort of veterans like Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston, were abruptly retooled.
People looked at the Cheryl Swoops of the world, the Maya Moores of the world, and others, and they said, yo, there was a bunch of people that came before her that did big things for the WNBA. I respect it. It is right. I appreciate it. But whiteness does have its privileges.
Now, Caitlin Clark's face and name dominated every promotional asset, from billboards to social media feeds, often with other players blurred into the background as supporting characters. Inside the practice gym, the changes were even more profound. Coach Stephanie White's system, a meticulously crafted motion offense built on constant player movement, ball sharing, and reading the defense, was suddenly under pressure to evolve. Reports from within indicated that practices were now heavily skewed towards sets specifically designed to spotlight Clark's otherworldly long-range shooting and her unique talent for logo distance three-pointers. The philosophy was shifting from a collective we to a targeted her.
One of the bizarre controversies of the last week is Caitlin Clark, who is the WNBA's only nameable star. Here, for example, is WNBA team owner Sheila Johnson. Here she is, ripping Caitlin Clark and the fan base for liking Caitlin Clark, saying it's only because Caitlin Clark is white.
Why couldn't they have put the whole WNBA on that cover?
A new unspoken phrase began to circulate among employees, a quiet but firm acknowledgement of the new power dynamic. The owner has spoken. Initially, many fans and outside observers dismissed the rumors as inevitable hype, the natural noise that follows a superstar. But as the season unfolded, the evidence became too substantial to ignore. Subtle but significant tweaks were made to player rotations, seemingly to ensure Clark's offensive rhythm was never disrupted. Media access, once relatively open, became tightly controlled and orchestrated, with interactions between reporters and players or staff being carefully monitored. Most tellingly, key internal decisions, from personnel choices to promotional partnerships, were no longer being made in the general manager's office or the coach's office. They began to funnel through one central command point, Steve Simon's office. The Indiana Fever was no longer operating under traditional basketball hierarchy, where the coach coached and the front office managed. It was now being micromanaged from the very top, a corporate entity with a clear, singular, and uncompromising focus that prioritized one individual's brand above all else.
Caring for our players and, building this league to make sure it's in a great spot for many years to come, because you all know I grew up as a huge fan of this league, and I'm going to do everything I can to make this the league that, a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 15.
But Simon's rumored intervention, it turned out, was just beginning. His focus soon expanded beyond the court, targeting the very architecture of the front office. The phrase "get on board or get left behind" began to take on a chilling, literal meaning inside the Fever's executive suites. Insiders began reporting that Simon's next strategic move was a quiet yet devastatingly bold directive, a top-to-bottom evaluation of all leadership positions, with specific focus on alignment with the new, Clark-centric direction of the franchise. In corporate language, alignment is rarely a neutral term. It's a flashing red warning sign, a euphemism for a purity test. It translates to a simple, brutal ultimatum: conform completely to the new vision, or prepare your exit. The two executives who found themselves squarely in the crosshairs of this review were Amber Cox and Kelly Krauskopf. This was a staggering development. These weren't mediocre or underperforming employees. Krauskopf was a legendary figure in the franchise's history, one of the key minds behind its past championship runs and its recent rebuild. Cox was widely respected for her innovative work in revitalizing the Fever's brand and connecting with the community. They were the architects of the team's return to relevance. Yet, their historic contributions suddenly seemed to hold no weight. They were now being scrutinized not for their competence or results, but for their perceived loyalty to the Caitlin Clark's team model. Colleagues who have witnessed Steve Simon's management style in his other business ventures describe him as a man who doesn't need to raise his voice or create scenes to exert his will. He simply, coldly reorganizes. He analyzes an organizational chart as if it were a machine, identifies what he views as inefficiencies or points of resistance, and surgically removes them. The message being sent to every single person employed by the Fever, from the scouts to the sales team, was unequivocal. Full, unquestioning alignment with the CCT doctrine was no longer suggestion or strategic goal. It was a non-negotiable requirement for professional survival. The person caught most directly in the crossfire of this new corporate mandate, the human shield absorbing the initial impact, was a head coach herself, Stephanie White. When she returned to Indiana, she was hailed as a homecoming hero, the perfect leader to bridge the team's proud history with its promising future. She was smart, disciplined, and commanded immense respect from her players, who valued her straightforward and system-driven approach. Her entire coaching philosophy was built around a motion offense, a sophisticated read-and-react system designed to create scoring opportunities through unselfish play, constant player movement, and intelligent cuts. It was a system fundamentally built on the concept of we, where no single player was above the scheme. But after the CCT meeting, her entire life's work and coaching identity were suddenly placed under a blistering microscope. The ownership group, according to insiders, began demanding a different on-court product. They wanted an offense that was less about complex patterns and more about fully unleashing Caitlin Clark's singular ability to take over games single-handedly. This meant a potential shift toward more isolation plays, clearer outsets, and offensive schemes that centered almost exclusively on Clark's unique deep-range skill set. This created an immediate and fundamental philosophical clash that struck at the very heart of what it means to coach. During intense film sessions, it was reported that Clark herself, confident and understandably aware of her capabilities, would ask for more control and autonomy over the offense. Meanwhile, Coach White, a believer in system and structure, steadfastly stuck to her playbook, advocating for the discipline she believed would win championships. Publicly, both maintained a professional and united front, offering polite, canned answers to the media. But privately, within the confidential walls of the organization, the tension was palpable and building by the day. This internal friction did not go unnoticed. Podcasters and league analysts, picking up on the whispers, began openly speculating that Stephanie White's job security, despite her success in steering the Fever back to playoff contention, was now quietly but seriously on the line. The rumor mill churned out names, suggesting that Steve Simon already had a short list of potential replacements, perhaps a coach with direct ties to the Iowa basketball program, or a young, offensive-minded assistant known for designing systems that cater to superstar guards. For a coach of White's caliber and accomplishment, it was a harsh and unsettling reality check, a stark lesson in the New World Order. In Steve Simon's empire, past success and basketball purity don't matter if you are not in lockstep with the future profit model. So why would a billionaire take such a direct and ruthless approach? The answer, as it so often does in modern sports, comes down to one thing: money. And when you follow the money in this story, the picture becomes crystal clear, revealing a financial revolution that transcends the basketball court. Since Caitlin Clark arrived, the financial windfall for the Indiana Fever, and more importantly, for Pacers sports and entertainment empire that Steve Simon controls, has been nothing short of historic. But to truly understand the scale, you have to look at the numbers. Ticket sales didn't just increase, they exploded, with the Fever instantly becoming the hottest ticket in the WNBA, selling out arenas across the entire country on the road, and creating a perpetual wait list for home games at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. This wasn't just a spike, it was a fundamental reset of the franchise's revenue potential. Merchandise featuring her name and number became a white-hot commodity, flying off shelves so fast that retailers and the team's own stores struggled to keep inventory in stock. It was a level of consumer demand the league had never seen before. Major corporations, sensing a cultural moment they couldn't afford to miss, lined up for sponsorship deals. But here's the critical twist that explains Simon's intense personal interest and his micromanagement. A large portion of these monumental new revenue streams flowed directly through Pacers sports and entertainment, not the WNBA Central League office. This structural detail is everything. The WNBA operates on a league-sharing model for certain national TV contracts and some sponsorships, but the local broadcast rights, the stadium naming rights, the lucrative suite and premium seating contracts at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and a significant portion of the local sponsorship money. These are the jewels that stay with Simon's organization. When a local Indiana company wants to capitalize on Clark Mania, they aren't cutting a check to the WNBA headquarters. They are negotiating a deal directly with Pacers sports and entertainment. This means every single dollar generated from these localized Caitlin Clark booms passes directly under Steve Simon's corporate umbrella. Her success wasn't just boosting the league's profile in an abstract way. It was directly and massively enriching a specific, privately held business portfolio. Consider the ripple effects. A sold-out Gamebridge Fieldhouse means millions more in revenue from concessions, parking, and merchandise sold on-site, all revenue that feeds Simon's empire. The unprecedented national media attention forced major TV networks to negotiate for more fever game broadcasts, increasing the value of the league's next media rights deal, but also immediately boosting the value of the Pacers' sports and entertainment brand as a whole. Steve Simon, a man who built his fortune on the ruthless economics of shopping malls and private equity, looks at Caitlin Clark and doesn't just see a talented rookie. He sees a once-in-a-generation economic catalyst. He sees a human stimulus package for his entire operation. So, when there was even a hint that the on-court product under a system-based coach or the marketing direction from the existing executives wasn't perfectly maximizing her world-breaking potential, the financial implications were immediate and terrifying to a bottom-line focused billionaire. A few lost games due to philosophical clashes could mean diminished hype. A marketing campaign that didn't spotlight her correctly could leave millions in potential sponsorship money on the table. Insiders say Simon's involvement wasn't based on emotion or a deep, sentimental love for the game. It was a cold, strategic move to protect a billion-dollar investment that had miraculously fallen into his lap. He isn't just protecting a player. He's guarding the engine of his most profitable new asset. This is why the rumors of his takeover carry the weight of truth. This isn't about basketball strategy in a pure sense. It's about asset management. In the high-stakes world of billionaire sports ownership, you are a custodian of a financial entity first and a sports team second. When an asset appreciates in value as rapidly and dramatically as Clark has appreciated the fever, the owner's primary job is to ensure that not a single ounce of that value is squandered. This explains the CCT mandate, the scrutiny of executives for alignment, and the pressure on the coaching staff. It's all a coordinated corporate defense mechanism. Every decision is now filtered through a single question. Does this action optimally leverage the Caitlin Clark effect to its absolute maximum financial potential? For Steve Simon, the entire franchise has been transformed into a vehicle for that single, overarching goal. The wins and losses on the scoreboard are now just one metric of success. The true score is being kept on a balance sheet in a corporate office far from the sound of squeaking sneakers. Now, the Fever organization finds itself at a point of no return. All of this boardroom drama and philosophical infighting has inevitably seeped into the locker room, creating an atmosphere of uncertainty and division. Fans with a keen eye have noticed the subtle shifts. The body language in post-game interviews sometimes feels off, with veterans appearing distant or players nervously laughing and deflecting questions about team chemistry. Behind the scenes, sources claim the roster is quietly split. One faction believes in Stephanie White's structured, team-first approach, a system that brought discipline and identity. Another faction believe the offense should be fully tailored to unleash Caitlin Clark's unique, game-breaking talents. This kind of internal split, if it grows, can erode the trust and chemistry that every successful team needs to win. And ironically, this internal friction may now give Steve Simon the exact excuse he needs to intervene even further. He could position himself as the one who needs to fix the culture, to stabilize a franchise, and in doing so, justify the removal of anyone, coaches or executives, who is seen as an obstacle to the CCT vision. The eerie silence from the Pacers entertainment front office is perhaps the most telling sign of all. No denials, no press conferences, no attempts to calm the speculation. It's the quiet of a chess player who has already planned his next 5 moves. The old hierarchy of the Indiana Fever is fading away, being systematically replaced by a new, centralized power structure where every decision is measured by a single, ruthless standard. Does it grow the brand and profit Caitlin Clark? The Indiana Fever are no longer just a basketball team chasing a championship. They have become a high-stakes business experiment, a billion-dollar brand with a scoreboard attached. And once money takes over the game in this way, it changes forever. The fans are watching, the players are feeling the pressure, and the story is still being written. What do you think about Steve Simon's alleged takeover? Is this just smart business, or is it a dangerous precedent for the WNBA? Let me know your thoughts in the comment below. I read every single one. And if you want to stay ahead of this unfolding drama, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. You won't want to miss what happens next.